Hello everybody, my name is Julian or Flow Graphics. I know you're probably not used to seeing me on camera. I thought, why not do something special, because this is a special video. I'm going to give you a little preview of our teaser trailer that's launching in the next few days. As well as that, our Kickstarter page is also up. It's not live, the campaign hasn't started, but what you can do is actually bookmark the page and click that follow button, and you'll get notified the second the Kickstarter page actually launches. So everybody that's going to follow along the Kickstarter, make sure you go bookmark that and follow it up now, because there's going to be limited slots for some of the perks. There's also an early bird deal, so you will need to get in quickly. If you missed my previous video, these are the dates all around the world that the Kickstarter page will go live. So you can work off that, or you can just click that button and then it'll just notify you anyway. So here's the little preview for the teaser trailer. I'm just going to show the first half or so, since we're releasing the full teaser trailer in just a few days. And look, enjoy it, and I'll continue the rest of the dev diary after that. Okay, so we are now in-game in Lens Island. Sorry to cut the trailer short. You will see the full trailer in only a couple of days, so you don't have long to wait. But I wanted to take this quick dev diary, and it will be a quick one, by the way, because we are very busy getting everything ready for the Kickstarter. But I want to talk a little bit about the aesthetics of Lens Island and what we did to achieve that, because it's a question I get all the time of what rendering pipeline do you use, and how do we get the lighting to look so good, and all sorts of stuff. So I thought, why not take this video to quickly go through that and actually give you some quick little tips and tricks to actually just make any game look way better really easily, and just using a couple of little sort of things that I use with Lens Island. So we're starting off the scene here. This is the little farmer hut that you actually get to bring an NPC to, like an NPC villager to, and they will actually grow little farms, and you'll be able to sort of get produce from them further into the game. But it just looks nice. So trying to be as unbiased as possible, this scene just looks really nice, and it looks really nice for a couple of key reasons. And lighting is one of the most important elements for 3D games, to be honest. It's incredible what you can do with lighting. But we've got sort of the subsurface scattering effect on the trees here. We've just got really nice lighting. The contrast with the shadows and the light looks really good. The colors, the vibrancy, it just really pops. It just really makes you feel happy when you look at it. And this is due to a couple of things. So what I'm going to do now is actually just pause the game, and we'll go into, this is the game here. So what we're going to do is go to a couple of things, and I'm going to change 3 settings, and it's going to make this look way worse instantly. So this is my Sky Dome that I'm using. We're using a system, and then we've tacked on a whole bunch of stuff into this system just to increase the functionality of it. So one thing is I dynamically change the light levels as the day progresses. So right now, if I was to go to the light inside the Sky Dome, you can see that the intensity is at 4, which is a really high intensity for a light. And it usually sticks at around 1 during the day, and then as the sun sets, it goes right up, because that's what happens in real life. The light gets more intense the closer it is to the horizon. So I have a script that does it here anyway, but I've just turned that off. So if I go to the light intensity here, and we'll just make that 1, and then I'll just replay the game, you can see that's a big difference. And if I just like sit here and actually change this light intensity, you can see how drastically that affects the game. So if I just make it 1, which most of your games are probably just going to be at 1, that's just what your typical standard directional light is at. And most people will just probably keep it as like that, maybe boost it a little bit, and not even really think too much about it. And they'll just change everything else to make it lighter or whatever else. But if you actually boost that light, that's exactly what happens in a normal afternoon situation, and it just looks really good. So let's drop that light back down to 1. Another thing too is this subsurface scattering effect. So this is an effect that you get from materials. You get this, there's all sorts of shaders that can do this effect for you. But if you use SpeedTree at all, you actually get a SpeedTree shader when you export SpeedTree stuff into Unity. So for example, if I go to my tree birch trunk, if I just put this is the indirect subsurface scattering, so you can see this is actually changing the indirect, basically the shadows, how light or dark the shadows are, so I can turn that off. If I turn off the subsurface altogether, you can see how crazy of an effect that makes. All of this nice lighting and shadows that we're getting, it just turns it all off. And if I maximize it again, the tree trunks are they're just blue. Like it's pretty boring. It's nowhere near as interesting now that that's off. Another thing too, so that's a big one. It's materials and shaders just being able to catch the light. So that's really just making use of that lighting. We've got really nice lighting. We want it to show. So just adding certain shaders and effects like that. You can also change normal maps and all sorts of things to make them catch the light. Even like the rocks just over here. If I made these rocks a little bit, let's try and find them. If I made them a little bit too far down, or if their meshes were like super flat, they wouldn't be able to catch as many shadows, and they just simply wouldn't look as good. So if there was something like this, you can see they don't really cast much of a shadow. They look super flat, but if I just Control Z that a little bit here, you can see now they're actually starting to cast little shadows. They look more 3D, and suddenly they're actually making use of that light that's in the sort of the world here. So lighting's a really big one. On top of that is image effects is a huge one. So if I go to my main camera here, my hierarchy is really, really messy in this test scene at the moment. So let's find my main camera. I'll go here. Let's turn off the post-processing, and you can see how drastic of a change that is. Like it just doesn't even look like Lens Island anymore. So this is what Lens Island looks like without any sort of change to the directional light, with absolutely no post-processing, or the subsurface scattering's back on. So let's turn that off again. So we turn off subsurface scattering as well. And it goes from like a really nice, beautiful sort of wonderland to be in to just like a standard game. Like it literally just looks, it looks good, like it looks nice. There's nice assets and things, but it just looks really just standard. It really doesn't, there's nothing that makes it super interesting. But then the second we pause the game, and then just start to turn on all these aspects again, even if I just go like that, we'll turn on the subsurface scattering, and you can instantly just see how much it affects all those trees and just lights them up. Then we'll go to our camera, turn on the post-processing, and even then, like I spent a while getting this post-processing. This isn't just like a generic thing, but you can do generic things like upping. So I've got eye adaptation, which boosts the exposure depending on where you are. So it's going to make it a little bit brighter. I've got anti-aliasing as well. I've got a bit of fog, which is you don't see at the moment. And then I do a lot of color grading work just to shift the hue and the saturation and add a bit more contrast as well. So you can see that affects the colors massively. And then if I go back up to my sky dome here, and then we go to the day color, and then let's say we bring that back up to 4, or it doesn't have to be that intense, it can be 3 or whatever. Now suddenly it looks really, really nice. It looked super flat, not very interesting before, and then now I am just running around in this magical wonderland, and it just makes you happy just to run around and just be a part of nature. And that's something that is really, really important in Lens Island, is really just enjoying running around on this beautiful island. So that's something I just want to touch on a little bit, is for you guys making games out there, lighting is really, really, really important. Never underestimate lighting, and all of the assets that you see in the scene could be way, way worse, and it would still look really good. I think that's something important, is always choose aesthetic over fidelity, because at the end of the day, like, aesthetic controls the fidelity. It controls the whole experience of your game. So if you have a bad aesthetic, which is usually down to bad lighting, or a range of other things don't have good silhouettes, all sorts of stuff. Just general composition as well. But if the aesthetic is bad, then people just won't really like the look of your game. Even you could have 4K textures and beautiful normal maps and really detailed assets, but something still just won't be right. People won't quite like the look of it. So it's just something to think about for all you guys out there. And just a quick little update for everybody too. There's so much new stuff to talk about and so many new things to show. And we're actually giving a demo away to everyone that backs the project on Kickstarter. So upon the successful completion of the Kickstarter, there's also water splashes now. You can see them, they look pretty. So when the Kickstarter is successfully completed, a few days after, we'll be handing a demo out to everybody that backed the project on Kickstarter. So a lot of our time right now is getting all that demo ready. So we're very, very busy for that. So I hope you enjoyed this quick little video and little update for everyone. It was a bit more of like an instructional video more than just an update, and you guys can, I guess, enjoy me just running around and looking at some random stuff at the moment. As always, everybody, have an amazing day. I'm really, really excited for the Kickstarter. I hope you all are too, and I'll see you in a few days.